Hey, YouTube, Prof Sales.
And Karin.
Coming at you with a daily recap. That was loud here. I don't know how loud that was online, but I feel like it was very loud. How's everybody doing? It is Friday, February 3rd, 2017. And we're coming at you with our weekly recap. End of the week, getting ready to hit the weekend. Who's pumped for the weekend? Super Bowl weekend. I know some of you guys out there are pumped. Some not as much, I'm sure, depending on where your team happens to be right now.
Because only 2 of them make it.
It's only 2 that made it. Our team didn't make it. But we are excited to be here, excited to be online with you guys, and hope that you're excited too for another great weekend of hopefully sales for those of you who are resellers. You think there's any resellers watching?
There's 2. I can see them.
2? There's only 2 people watching?
No, there's more than 2. There's more than 2 people.
There's more than 2 people.
There's more than 2 resellers too, I think.
So hopefully you guys are having a great start of your February. It is February, so if you're not aware, it's a new month, which is a new opportunity to, own your results, improve your processes, make your business better. So we've been doing that too. We're going to talk about several things today. Lots of people in the chat. Karin, who's here today? We'll just shout out a few people.
Lauren's here. Hi, Lauren. Your turn.
Anybody else?
Well, there's a lot of people. CCH, Chicago Crown Hustler in the house.
Yvonne asked, what is the super chat $ icon? Yeah, so this thing came up on YouTube.
Hi, Yvonne.
Hi. It allows you supposedly to enter money. I don't know how much the money is. And it allows you to make a comment, and it stays on longer, and it shows for a longer period of time in the chat. It's a new feature YouTube has, and they split the revenue with the content provider and YouTube. It seems goofy to me, but I went ahead and enabled it because I was like, if somebody wants to do that, we'll find out what it's like. If it looks stupid or just doesn't make any sense, then I'm going to disable it.
So it sounds like if you wanted to be the squeaky wheel, all you got to do is pay to do it. And there you are.
Yeah, they just started, I think, a day ago. Mm-hmm. It's pretty new. Great, a new troll function, I know, right?
That's
right,
how
but it does cost money, so I have no idea exactly how it works. So we'll see what happens with it. Like I said, apparently it just came about in the last 24 hours, so this is the first time we've seen it as well. Anyway, January, we're going to talk about January a little bit. We're going to talk about some new stuff we got. We're going to talk about sourcing. We're going to talk about inventory that we bought.
And inventory that we found.
That we found?
Yeah, that's later.
Yeah, exactly. But so what did we've gotten some new props lately, Karin. Maybe we should talk about those.
Well, we have to show them.
Well, do you want to play show and tell?
Well,
or at least with
my one show and tell is over there. Hand me those 2 things. Don't show them, don't show them. So we finally bought a black light to test for bodily fluids and stains on clothing. So this is what happened. It comes from, where did I buy it? Amazon.
Yeah.
It gets here, and we're sitting around, and one of us has some experience with these things and photography, and the other doesn't. And so this is a black handheld black light.
You have dust on your hand.
Yeah,
it's so weird. Don't put this on your carpet.
No, so that's what I'm getting at. So I said, hey, Jason, have you ever, played with these? Because different things, fluids in particular, human bodily fluids, blood, semen, there I said it, saliva, etc. Urine will fluoresce differently. And a lot of people will buy these if they have a pet that's, going potty in places that they shouldn't and stuff. So I not even thinking that much of it, I said, here, why don't you give it a try? And when you wear the glasses, it helps with the contrast. It actually turns it a different kind of color, filters it out. But so I gave it to Jason for a good, half an hour, 45 minutes. We'll call you like Prof Jason. Prof Jason is going around the house. ew, our carpet's dirty. And then he shines it on the wall. Ew, they didn't do a good job.
Paint splatters.
Paint splatters.
That you would never see normally.
And so then I said, hey, take it in the bathroom, because I live with 2 guys, right? That was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But anyway, we got it. And he's like, you're not really going to take that out to a Goodwill. And I'm like, yeah, someday I just might.
She's going to wear the glasses too. That will absolutely be a video.
I think
if you wear the glasses.
I kind of like the glasses.
Have we used it much on clothing yet?
No. And honestly,
that's the funny part.
with jeans and things, if you can't see it with the naked eye, all kidding aside, it really doesn't matter that much. But we got it mainly because we sometimes go into places where we can't see at all. And this will help with that. Really, it's just a novelty, let's be honest. And now somebody's going to watch the video and there's going to be a comment about how ignorant it is to think that I can solve all the stain problems of the world with this. But, you know, reseller toys, whatever.
So it'll be fun.
That's show and tell number 1. But anyway, does it work?
Now number 2. Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, well, does it work? Yeah. Is it going to be that everyday practical in use? Probably not. But it was fun to go look around the house, wasn't it?
Yeah, and shine it on your teeth and look in the mirror. Trust me.
That's not what you meant, though.
Yeah, it's not as good.
But they do kind of look funny.
They look super white. It's really weird. Like if you shine them on your teeth. Anyway,
in the dark. Anyway.
In the dark. Yeah, do in the dark.
Party toys. Can you do I have to get her, or can you just
yeah, I can turn the thing here a little bit, I guess.
So everybody, we'd like to introduce you to Jamie. Jamie got here 2 days ago, and she's very goth today. Floor size torso female mannequin, and I covered her up because I didn't think it would be very nice to show her in all her nakedness. But we use plastic halfsies. And they just don't lay right. They don't hang right when we take pictures. So we decided to get this one for dresses, skirts, coats in particular. And now that we like Jamie and she got here and she's going to work, we're going to get her I'd say a boyfriend, but we already have a name and it's her brother. So it won't be your boyfriend. It'll be your brother.
Yep.
Anyway, so we'll get another one. And that will just help with what we're taking pictures of now.
Yeah, helpful for obviously tops, jackets, coats, blazers, anything like that.
Flat lays with certain things can only get you so far. And it just really, I think hanging it from the mannequin is just going to give a whole new dimension to some of our higher end items in particular. Because, I don't know, it matters. If you're selling a $100 jacket, you want to make it look like it. You don't want it, if it's a Nordstrom coat, let's not sell it like we're selling it from Kmart, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So is that all I was going to show and tell today? Those are the fun ones anyway.
I don't know. Was that all you had to show and tell?
Well, for now. I did find a wetsuit, but I'm not going to go get that. That'll be another day.
Yeah, we'll talk about sourcing a little bit. Mm-hmm. What else? All right, so, oh gosh, let me readjust this. The computer just getting caught on the microphone wire. Let's try this again. All right, so let's talk about January a little bit, and
it's over.
She's like, it's over. Thanks, Captain Obvious, or Captain Ness Obvious. That won't even be right.
Less obvious.
Less obvious. January. How did you guys do in January? How were your results? We haven't really talked since the end of the month, a few days ago. And a couple things to keep in mind for February. I just want to remind everybody, February is 3 days less than January. So you're likely to see a drop in sales potentially if you have about the same number of listings, because you just have 10% less time to sell. So don't, get too stressed about that if that happens, because it's likely to happen. But I wanted to talk about the jean sales and sales in general for January. We sold basically 6 items per day in jean sales during January. Let me see if I can pull that up here. For some reason, I don't have the 31st up. We'll kind of talk about the spreadsheet early today, interestingly enough. And
Cut
here
right
we go.
to it.
So you guys can see we sold to, this is actually missing a few from the 31st. We sold just over 6 per day, which was okay. Not really super great numbers. About 4,700 in sales for jeans on January. which was, again, okay. You know, a $2,000 net. I'm okay with that. 1089 per gene was pretty good. We really started getting aggressive, guys, on pushing up our asking price a little bit, pushing up our shipping price that we charge, because shipping did go up, obviously, in January. And it's starting to pay off. And we are really excited about what that's going to look like. So I'm going to stop this one for a second here. And we're really excited about like what that math is going to look like, guys, because what we're finding is that already in February, which just started, so you can't take too much from it, but we've already seen basically a let me get this up here. We've already seen $1.40 increase in our sale price, and we've seen a 60-cent decrease in our cost to sell per item. So we're already netting about $1.80 more per item is what it's working out to this month. That's pretty huge, guys, because I don't know how many items you sell, but think about if, you know, for every item you sold, you could get another $1.80 in revenue out of it, or just it was cheaper to sell it. I mean, that's pretty huge. If you sell, you know, a couple hundred items a month, that's what, $360, almost $400 you're going to put in your pocket. And only just because you're sourcing a little cheaper and you're pricing a little bit higher. So I'm really encouraging you guys. I don't know what your thoughts are on it. Everybody's got different opinions on this, but I'm really encouraging you guys. Think about increasing your prices a little bit. If you're selling good quality items, you've got good quality photos and keywords in your title and all that good stuff that we've talked about here before. And look at increasing your shipping cost a little bit too, or your shipping, what you're charging for shipping. If you're charging for shipping, maybe you're just doing free shipping. You can incorporate that as well, because you're leaving some money on the table if you're not. We are definitely committed to doing that this year. I think I told you guys, we figured out if we had sourced cheaper last year, we could have put thousands of dollars in our pocket.
Would have been huge.
Yeah, over $10,000 just in jeans. So we're really committed to that. We're really committed to sourcing cheaper and pricing higher, and increasing our shipping charge just a little bit. I know some of you are going to say, hey, if you go too high, people aren't going to buy. That's true to a point, but there's always a top end of the market, and you can get closer to that and still be fine. I'm not saying you have to be the most expensive on whatever it is you're selling, but I'm looking to be like in that top 20%, that top fifth of all sellers for a particular item. And I'm just looking at solds recently versus listeds and so on, and just trying to be in that top 20%. And I'm just kind of eyeballing it, guys. Not like I'm sitting there crunching numbers. I'll look down the last, I don't know, 20, 30 solds, and I'll just see, all right, well, where's kind of the high end, where's sort of the middle, where's sort of the low, and I'll just price accordingly up there closer to that high end and see if I can get it. And I can always put a better offer on it and take a lesser offer if I want. So it's not like I'm shutting out everyone below that would buy the item for just a little bit cheaper. They still have an opportunity. But I really encourage you guys to try that strategy. See if you can get a few more, you know, a few percentage points more out of your items. And obviously we're sourcing cheaper at the bins and so on. And we've really committed to that. So speaking of that, we should talk about our sourcing the last few days, or yeah, the last two times we've gone.
Thursday, Tuesday?
Thursday and Tuesday are days now, wouldn't you say?
Yes. It's a pattern. We've done it more than once.
Yes.
Well, what do you want to talk about? We went and we bought a bunch of stuff. Tuesday, we met Luke right here at our local Charlotte outlet, and we got there right as it opened, and it was amazing. It was fresh. It was clean. It was not crowded. It was quiet. Everybody was smiley and friendly and happy. And I think we all, both of us did very well. Yeah. Almost right out of the gate, I got a full size, half size, brand new with tags wetsuit. And I was like a kid with a new Christmas toy. I went running through the store. Kid you not.
She did.
It's just what I do. And I think I might have uttered a nanner in there somewhere now that I think about it. But I said, "Woo, look at this! It's a wetsuit and it's new." And then if I'm being, in the interest of, you know, being all honest and everything, I don't think I checked it very well in the moment. I just threw it in the cart and we were going to buy it.
Right.
So note to self, try not to get too caught up in the moment and forget your job. So in this instance, there was nothing wrong with it. And we probably paid $2 for something that'll go for 150. So that was a nice score there, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's a great point to bring up, that anything that's like special equipment or to a specific niche, like water, or not water skiing, but like
snow ski,
snorkeling, I mean, anything like that that's got that's a great. I mean, not everything's going to be sellable. But in that case, it was new with tags. Interesting, I thought.
It was gorgeous.
I mean, why would somebody throw that away or give it? I mean, they just never used it. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's basically new. Fred had a question. We'll talk some more about the sourcing in a minute. He said, Fred's premium says, are you finding the same price level at the bins? Actually, Fred, the price level that we're finding is about 60 to 70% cheaper than sourcing at regular thrift stores. I mean, that's just money in your pocket. It's money. Let me back up. It's money you're not even spending in the first place, because you're able to source all your items for a day, a week, or month, whatever your time frame is, and you're not having to put as much money out, which I think is really awesome, because that's money we never have to recoup that money from a sale because we never spent it in the first place. So we definitely are enjoying that cheaper cost of goods. So absolutely a better price at the bins, no question. And other sales too, not just the bins. Well,
and now would be a good time. Can I say what we're doing with our shopping? Because everybody always asks and also always adds opinions to how we do what we do. And we've decided with this, because at the end of the year, at the end of the day, whatever, it all averages out per item anyway. So what we're doing now is whatever shopping yielded, instead of micro dividing, okay, each piece that we bought at the outlet was $1.67 an item. And then we went to the boutique, which is right next door, and everything there was about $6.25 an item. And then we went to one more Goodwill regular, and that one was $6.37 an item. We're just going to lump everything in a day's searching outing,
right?
And that's going to be our per item for that day. And we're just going to work that, because with all our one-offs and our individual SKUs, it's just so much to keep track of. And we're trying to evolve. As some of you know, we're switching to QuickBooks, and how that's going to help augment our existing systems. And there are certain things that work well and certain things that do not. And, I guess you can thank us in one way for showing you how to do it and how not to do it. And that's all part of our process as well. So where was I going with that? You were asking. Oh, just take it away. I'm going to have a drink.
She's going to have a drink. All right. So, that's not a real, it's a drink, but whatever. Fred was clarifying your sell price. No, the same sell price, Fred. I mean, you can find great items at the bins that you can sell for high. I mean, you can find some home runs.
Oh, yeah.
The difference is that now all your bread and butter items become even better because you're paying even less for them. And it's not that you're making so much on any one item. It's just the cumulative effect of, before, if we're buying 50 pair of jeans and spending $250, now we're spending $100, more or less. And so now that $150, it's not ever having to be put into sourcing. It stays in our pocket right off the bat. So that's a good way to look at it.
Well, and Fred, one model that we did, as far as if we just had bought every single pair of our jeans at the outlets last year, we would have been $12,000 more in our pocket that we would not have spent because we bought them retail Goodwill instead of outlet Goodwill.
Right.
And that is nothing to ignore. I mean, that's a huge difference.
Yes, $1,000 a month.
Yep.
I mean,
it was huge.
That's, I think for most of us, $1,000 a month is pretty meaningful. It's meaningful to me.
And so again, our goal for 2017 is not only to bring that average price per item down, but we are tweaking our prices that we sell it for, and we are raising a good many of them. You know, the
Right.
shipping went up, and none of us
Right.
can control that. Unless you
Right.
want to lose money and give away your shipping, whatever, that's fine. But we're also, you know, we were kind of short selling ourselves on some things. So some of our higher end brands, we kind of took a look at what they're selling for across the board and have done some tweaks here and there. So we've actually raised our own prices, and so far have seen a good return on that as well.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got going on here. All right, so we've got about 75 people watching, so thank you guys for that, coming out on a Friday afternoon. It's awesome to see so many people here, considering we announced the show only about 2 hours before we went on. Karen, what do you think people should do if they're enjoying what they're hearing, if they're liking the content? What do you think they should do?
I think, Prof, that they should smash the like button, just smash it. W.C. Fields, that's who I am, right? W.C. Fields, was that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. Smash it. Why don't you come up and see me sometime? That was the girl, the woman. What was her name?
What are you doing?
I'm just being me, going off in my own direction.
Today on Prof Sales, the 20th century revisit.
I used to do that
Early
impression
20th century.
when I was a kid. What is her name? Blonde bombshell. Why don't you come and see me sometime?
Was it Mae West? Was it Rita Hayworth? Was it
Mae West? That
was
could
it?
be a.
It wasn't Marilyn, right?
No, somebody will say it.
Mae West.
Yeah, I think it was Mae West, and she was spicy, that one. And so as a little kid, I would always do that. Why don't you come up and see me sometime?
Yeah.
That was a different voice, though.
Did you ever see her sister, Go East? Just kidding.
So anyway.
All right. That was a bad joke. Not even funny.
You know, if I can do bad humor, you should certainly be able to make bad jokes as well.
I certainly can do some bad humor.
Look, the little mouse, they can't see it, but the little mouse was on my nose.
Let's put that back.
Okay, look, if I do this.
Okay, they can't see the
I know
mouse.
they can't, but it's very funny to me. All right, so we were saying.
Anyway.
We're happy you're here. If you like what you see, please push the thumbs up button and like us. If you don't, go watch somebody else. How's that?
All right, so let's talk about inventory, because people tell me to hurry up and get to it when I have a topic on a show. Which I always respond, exactly what time should I do this on a 1 hour show? Exactly when should I start talking about the topic?
Now, let's talk about it now.
Yeah, let's talk about it now. So here is, let me see if I can bring this up. I don't know if I can bring this up or not. Let's see.
What are you going to bring up?
Well, it's not going to make much sense. All right, so.
I don't know that much of what we said today.
Yeah.
So there you go.
All right, so let me give you a little background on this topic and why we kind of ran into a little bit of an issue at the end of last month. So Karen and I were going through the numbers from January. I was kind of doing my month end. This was 2 days ago, Wednesday. And, you know, I was going through what the sales were and how much we listed and all the good stuff. You kind of look back the month and see how you did. And we sold about 209 items on eBay, which is pretty good. You know, nothing crazy. We listed 339. So we grew our listings by about 130, which is pretty good. You know, not setting the world on fire, but good solid growth. So I was trying to figure out, and we've talked about this before, all right, what are we going to do in February? How much are we going to list? And how much we're going to list, how much are we going to buy to get that done? So I started thinking about that and how we would figure that out, because Karen's going to be gone for a week in February, this month. So we really have to be strategic. And the month is 3 days shorter. So we're losing kind of like 10 days of productivity already, if you think about it, from one half of us, three days from both of us. So I was like, well, all right, let's look at how much we sold, which was 209. We're going to try to grow our percentages a bit this month. We're going to try to grow our listings by 12%. We're going to go up we're going to, you know, pretty steady growth. How many items do we need to list? How many items do we need to buy? We figured out, and I kid you not, the listing goal is 333. Pretty simple, right? 333. So how many do we need to list, or how many do we need to buy? Well, we probably need to buy a few more than that, because we know some are going to be defects and flaws and all that good crap. You know, when you're doing clothing, you're not going to catch everything in the store. Stuff's going to fall out. So we figured out with a little bit of a fudge factor, we needed to source about 350 items. 350. That would give us a little bit of room. But here's where it got interesting.
Well, and let me just give you this
Yes.
disclaimer, at the risk of really putting ourselves out there for all sorts of fodder, but we really believe in putting it out there honestly and having full disclosure. And this thing that he's about to say is total honesty, and it might make us, it doesn't matter how it makes us look to you, but for us, it's being honest. So we were doing an inventory and we were coming up with our number, and we decided we would, we have this new system where we're putting it in buckets and then going through the process and we're
right.
dialing that back or whatever. And we had just checked in a bunch of other new stuff, and there was some overlap from December. So whenever we have an overlap from the previous month, that just counts towards surplus, and it sort of subtracts from some of the goals, sourcing in particular, for the next month. So we did a hard count of what we have, and that's what you're about to say, yeah?
Yeah. So here was the thing, guys. All right, so here's the scene. I'm like, all right, Karin, so we need to source 350 items this month. But we started looking around, and we looked at what we already had. And we discovered, we did a count. We just kind of quickly went through and counted what we had. We already had 197 items left over.
Well, yes and no. One of us forgot about a section because they didn't make it towards the bookshelf yet, whatever. So the number that I came up with and the number that he came up with was not prof mathematically congruent, right? So we put all that together, and it was we have on hand, at least prior to yesterday, because we haven't counted that on the spreadsheet yet, but we had 197. So of course that number comes off of the 350 and leaves us a net and how we had the plan. But that's why we decided to make this the subject of today's show, because what do you do when you have excessive inventory? Some people, ours, it was a bit of we never lost it. We just weren't counting it because of the overlap.
We lost it.
So we just weren't counting it because of the overlap, and the overlap sort of followed through the chain, Right. So and it was about 60 units, right? That's what we decided. Yeah. It was around 60 items, and it just sort of followed because of what we're doing. Recently we broke down our system because we're getting ready to hire somebody, and we broke out our system in 8 parts so that we could batch it and delegate it out so that we wouldn't have somebody working 8 hours on the same thing. Right. Because there's some psychology and some common sense to, you want them to sort of immerse themselves not in just one thing, and we want to see what their strengths are or whatever. And now we're going to dial that back, and we get all that, and we appreciate everybody weighing in on that, et cetera. Yeah. But in this case, because we've sort of been bumping, and it was a little bumpy because we really had to make it more difficult for ourselves. And folks, we get that. We've had a couple of comments where people are like, I can't believe you're making it. Well, we have to deconstruct to, the new hospital, for example, would never have gotten there if there wasn't an older, more rundown version of that same hospital that had to be bulldozed. And I was really thinking about that last night. Nice. When there is change and progress, everything that came before it wasn't necessarily state-of-the-art, newer, bigger, better, brighter, smarter, whatever. Yeah. So our old one-room schoolhouse, if you will, we had to deconstruct that. We had to bring it out into all these parts. And that has nothing to do with the fact that we misplaced or did not account for 60 items in our inventory, but it does speak to the system and how we're getting it tighter and better and all that.
Let me show you guys what that looks like visually. It might make a little more sense. I was just thinking about it.
We can show them the piles back.
Well, this was it right here. This is our listing goal for February, 333, which is going to grow us about 12%, we think. But here's the surplus because we said, oh, okay, we're going to need to buy 349 to do that. And here's a surplus we already had. So guess what, guys? We only really need to buy 152 to meet that goal, because that's the difference between this number and this number. So what that tells us is that we don't need to go out and source 350 items. If we do that, we're going to end up with a big surplus again at the end of this month. It's not very efficient. Now, obviously, if we need to course correct, we can do that. But this number is a lot more manageable than this number, obviously. So we're pretty happy about that. We think we can get this number done between what we got yesterday and next week. We should be done. We're going to be done with sourcing for the entire month of February, which is great because Karin will be leaving for a week. But we'll have a couple weeks there to just get it all listed and knocked out. We won't need to go source those last 2 weeks. So what does that all mean when you put all that together? First of all, what it means is you need to know how much inventory you're going to need for a given month, given whatever your listing goals is, your growth is, how you want to grow, how much you think you're going to sell, how much you want to grow by. You need to know that. You need to have some idea of that. I don't care how you do it, but figure it out. And we've talked about ways to figure it out. Second, you don't need to just keep buying.
Okay. I think
that's a lot of buying. I was trying to make a point. And the point is that people do that and then they don't list it. And that was kind of where we got to just because of the way we were sourcing. Like, we're like, oh, we got to source every week. No, we didn't. We could have taken a whole week off and been fine.
Yeah.
Been perfectly fine. We had plenty because you don't have to stay hundreds of items ahead of your sourcing. You really don't, unless you have the capacity to list those really, really quickly, which most of us don't. Or one person or two person shows. So there's no way, necessarily for most of us that we can take 200. I mean, we have 197 items. That's, 6 days of listing, doing nothing but listing. So that's over a week. Basically, guys, you got to figure out if you've got too much inventory or not. And if you do, you need to list it. And if you can't list it, you need to donate it, get rid of it, sell it some other way. I don't care what it is, but don't keep buying, because you're soaking up all the capital in your business and you're not really putting it back to work. You're not getting ahead of it. We watched this part of this video the other night, and Suzanne Wells, who most of you guys, if you've been around eBay a while, you might recognize that name. She's been in eBay for a long time, and she was hired she has a listing service she uses. She was hired to go list the entire collection of the CEO of WorthPoint. And his warehouse that he had 100,000 items in it, vintage, collectibles, and so on. That to me is a massive failure of business. If you get to the point where you are 100,000 items behind your listings, you messed up.
and maybe you need serious help.
Right.
Just saying.
Because that money, I would guess, was probably coming from his other business ventures to fund all that sourcing. Because he wasn't selling through anywhere near that. He only had a few thousand listings up. So it's not like he had this massive eBay store that was just turning items. Who is it? BHFO they sell about 100,000 items a month, and they're the biggest clothing seller on eBay. But they have a whole team of people listing and turning 1,000, or they have 100,
300,000 a month, 1,000 a day, right?
No, it was like 30,000 a month.
Right,
1,000 a day, yeah. They're turning about 30,000. So it would take them 3 months to turn all that. You don't need to have that much sourcing. That's crazy. I mean, you're wasting the funds that you're making in your business, and you're not going to recoup them. You need to, at some point, stop sourcing.
Well, and let me say this. A lot of people, especially with the small groups that we're involved with, get really frustrated with death piles and I just have to get the motivation to list today, or I have to do this today. And one of the things that we did in our analyzing what we do is we have meetings every week, and once a month we'll have a plan. But we came up with the number that we need to source 333 for the month, or we need to list 333, we need to source 350. And I don't think we said out loud, the reason those numbers differ is because we add a little percentage to account for defects.
Right.
Just so you know. So
right.
We got the math right. We do it on purpose. So from my perspective, there is something, I don't want to say comforting, or you guys choose your own word, what it means to you, but there's something comforting in being able to look on a piece of paper and see that we have a plan. And that plan is, and we actually only have 2 more days of it. And I'll give you, 3 total days. With having the 197 in surplus, we said, okay, in order to get to the remaining 152, then we have to divide that. And we did. We divided into yesterday, next Tuesday, and Thursday, sourcing at least 51 items per stop, or per day.
Yep.
Per day, not per stop.
Right. Per day.
And based on what we've done before, that's totally doable. And that's about what we come out of when we go on our big trip or on our local trip or whatever. And to give you an example, like what's cool about yesterday was, and we haven't checked them in yet, we're going to do that right after this video, but if our goal was 51, we already know that we have at least 75. The unknowns, or the outlet, the per pound.
The bin stores, because they're by pound, not by item.
Right.
So.
But we've already, and I'm all about goal met, goal exceeded, gold star versus check versus and already we're ahead of one of our goals. And that's really cool.
Yeah.
And you have to celebrate, whether you're a team of 1 or a team of 10 in this business, you have to celebrate those victories, because otherwise you're going to get stuck in a very unmotivated, dark place, I think. I mean, because and we do, and we know that it's hard. It's hard. It gets hard for us sometimes, and it gets hard for people that we interact with. And so when you have a goal, that something that you do well on, make note of it, and more importantly, make note of the behavior that got you there in the first place. And so to give you an idea of the ripple effect of this now, if we sourced 75 plus yesterday, that's going to take away from the goals moving forward. So it makes for a lighter day,
right?
Maybe next Thursday, or, we could have a banner day on Tuesday and get all whatever 100 left we have to do done. And actually it won't be 100 because it'll be less. But anyway, and in mapping this out, and our other goals are to get to that 333. It was actually pretty easy. We made a goal of 33 photos and listings for certain days.
About 10 days, almost a little over. But yeah.
And we take off totally at least 1 day a week.
Yeah.
But the coolest part about planning it in advance and seeing it on paper, not only to boost yourself up and to have direction, because to me, a plan and having consistency and an outline and a list is important. But the coolest thing, and I'm pointing to it because I printed it because I like to look at it. But the coolest thing about this list that we made is that we actually, if we follow this, and let me tell you, compared to months previous, we have not set the bar too high. Like we're going to knock it out of the park no matter what.
Yeah, we'll do it.
But the coolest thing, and I'm getting there, folks, the coolest thing about this list is that we have 2 full days. If we follow this plan, count them 2 days at the end of the month where we don't have to do a thing. And what the heck is a day off other than the regular day off? But that's kind of neat, because we stress that you have to find balance for yourself, for your relationships, for your family, especially for your own mental health or whatever. That's important. So it's really neat to look at that list, especially with me being gone a full week and then some other things coming up. It's neat to be able to look and see that we'll actually have some time. And when you use the word pigeonholed a lot, but when you get stuck in the same behavior, the same task over and over again, it gets a little frustrating. It gets tiring. It gets, I don't know. Okay. Oh, I'm in charge. Let me start pushing buttons. So it can get tedious. You can get unmotivated. You can get down about it. So the fact that we have this list and we can get days off and everything, that's awesome. So I'm happy about that. I'm happy about being able to look at this plan. And, in times past, if we had a certain goal to meet and I had to just grind out, that day we did 100 listings or whatever,
right.
It's rough. Like when you have to do 5 hours, 6 hours straight of just photographing. And I know some of you have, and maybe it's not so hard, but I don't see how it wouldn't be.
Right.
But when you're having to do 6 hours straight or 6 hours straight of listing, I mean, one, that's just crazy. You got to get up and move around, I would think. But you have to shake it up a little bit.
Yep.
And having a plan like this, it's like small bites. How do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
See, one bite at a time. So this is our elephant. And it's, if you had just started this conversation in this month by saying, okay, you got to list that, at the first day of the month, it's kind of
it's huge.
It's a huge obstacle, right? You're
Seems
thinking
like it.
over 300, I got to list over 300 things. And, oh, I still got to take my kid to practice, and I got to do this and I got to do that. And it just seems mountainous.
Yeah. Yes.
So.
Yeah. And I would say to you guys too, I'm going to put a little challenge to everybody watching this, either now or later. Go look at your records for last month. Go look at your sales on eBay or Amazon or whatever platform you're on, Etsy, Poshmark, and figure out how many items you sold last month. All right? And you need to commit to list at least that many this month. At least. That's like the bare minimum. And if you've got more items, let's say last month you sold 100 items. And now I want you to count how many items you've got sitting around. Take the time to count them, guys. There's no point in, not acknowledging it. It's you own it. If you've got 150 items sitting there and last month you sold 100, do not buy another thing until you deal with those 150 items. Whether it's listing them, selling them locally, donating them back to a store, I don't care what it is. Take that challenge, see if you can do it for the month of February. Once you've gotten that 150 under control, then you can think about buying something else. But do not do it, guys. I'm telling you, so many of us are killing our businesses for cash flow. Like, you're strangling the business because you keep putting money into product, but you're not selling through at the same rate. So the inventory is just growing and growing and growing in relation to your sales. And, big retailers that are out there, they will tell you that is a recipe for death. That's a recipe to kill your business. Because if you're sitting on so much inventory like that, it costs you so much money. It costs, that carrying cost of all that inventory is expensive, because once you buy it, that money's gone. It's just sitting there as inventory. You got to sell it, and you're not going to sell it if you don't list it up. So take that challenge. Look at how many items you sold last month between all your businesses, all your platforms. Count how many items you've got in your death pile, in storage, your inventory system, whatever you want to call it, that still needs to be listed. And if it's more than what you sold, do not buy another thing until you've listed it or taken care of it. Nothing, not even one thing. Don't even go. Don't say, oh, but the best sale is tomorrow. I'm telling you, don't do it. You're making a mistake. You're gonna find out that if you can get control of all those items that you were just letting sit there, you're going to see your business grow leaps and bounds. If you don't, you're going to stay in this vicious cycle of depleting cash from your business you don't need to. I mean, think about this, guys. It may not even be a huge number, but think if even every month you made 30% more in your business just because you listed everything. That would be great. If you had 1% sell through on all those items and you made another, 30 cents on every dollar, that'd be awesome. I'd take that, wouldn't you? I mean, that's great results. Mm-hmm. If you could grow 30%, if I told you you could grow 30% in February from January, you do it. You'd be foolish not to. I mean, that's a great growth rate. So you're not going to find out, though, until you try, until you take care of this and kind of own up to what you have. Because I know a lot of us throw stuff in a corner, and I've been guilty of it. And we want to say, oh, I'm not going to deal with that for a while. And we had some stuff we had to do that with. I had some stuff that had been hanging in the closet for a year, and I hadn't listed it. I was like, all right, if I'm not going to list this in the next week, it's gone. Yeah. It's going back. And we did. We took, what? I don't know. It was dozens of items. It wasn't just a few.
Mm-hmm. Well, now, and we're also doing once a month, like as far as what we're going to defect or donate back. We're not going to wait until the end of the year. We're doing that monthly, and that helps with accounting as well.
Yeah.
And here's something as far as, and I know that we talk a lot about the thrill of the hunt, and that shopping trip is what a lot of resellers, that's the highlight of the day. And from day one, that was only a highlight for me if it could be fun. How many times do I have to remind you? It has to be fun or I'm not going to go.
All the time.
But anyway, here's the thing. So I will throw this out there because I think I was guilty of thinking this way. And because of how we're now interacting more often with other resellers, both here and afar, I think it's easy to get stuck in this. If I don't get there, I'm going to miss the latest, greatest donation to my Salvation Army. Not true. there's always going to be something there. I get, we go and we actually thrift with other resellers at the same time, at the same outlet across from each other.
Right.
And there's no shortage of stuff,
No.
and where, we might be looking for jeans, they might be looking for shoes, and
who knows? Right.
who knows, but there's plenty out there. So if you can just get over yourself. No, that's not what I mean, but get over yourself. But you're doing yourself a disservice and to your business if you're just buy. And I saw someone in the chat thread said that they've heard of people actually hiding items from their spouse, or not, telling the full truth about what they're doing, or that's creating stress that you don't need.
Yeah. In your relationship, which is no bueno. If
you've got things, list them, put them out into the universe, because they're not going to sell themselves. Right.
Right.
And be able to, when I say get over yourself, get over that idea that you have to be there every day or you're going to miss out on something. Well, shoot, yeah, you're going to miss out on stuff. That's just life.
You know what you're going to miss out on is making sales at home.
Yeah, you're missing out on money. And I think that's unless you're in this just for the hobby of typing to buying things, and there are some folks that the rush is in the deal making and the acquisition. But I'd say that most everybody here in this thread, on this chat, watching this video, is in it to make some money. So let's have some discipline. Maybe February will be disciplinarian month. Yeah, yes. I said it. I didn't mean anything like naughty by it. But so just find some discipline with yourself and buy wherever you're starting, and we are. Make your goals and just. Yeah.
I mean, it's a simple goal, guys. Take what you sold in January. If you have more items than that in inventory, do not buy anything else until you get it taken care of. Really simple. And don't do this. Don't say, all right, well, Prof said I sold 100 items last month and I have 150, but now I've listed 51, so I can go buy more stuff. No. Take care of all 150.
Yeah.
Resolve them. List them, sell them locally, or donate them back, whatever you're going to do with them, but they should be either in your inventory or out of your house, or at least listed somewhere to be sold. I mean, listing them locally is the same as listing them. So you need to get those gone, guys. I mean, it's critical if you want your business to grow. It's just part of being a responsible business owner. And I understand people have the rush of buying things like you were talking about, but that's not really what this business is. You're not a buyer. You're a business person. And your business is selling things. It's not buying things. That's the front end. But you really have to be able to sell them, or you're not going to be successful. So just make that a commitment. I'm telling you, it'll pay off. And I can't wait to see what it's going to be like at the end of this month. We know exactly what we're going to buy. We're not going to be buying a bunch of extra items this month. We know exactly what we're going to list. There's no more ambiguity. There's no more like, I wonder if we should do this tomorrow. Nope, we know.
No, we have a plan. And it's like all of a sudden the clouds have parted and a ray of sunshine has come through. I mean, it's that black and white, because now we can see, and like we said, we're re-examining how we do just about everything. And another thing with how much money you make and how you discipline yourself, it's probably not a bad idea to, and I'm saying this so I'll watch this later and hear it myself, limit the things you're buying for personal use.
Yeah. I would even argue, make that a whole separate trip. And I bet what'll happen if you do that, I bet you won't end up making that separate trip.
Yeah.
If you say, hey, I'm going sourcing today for, 2 hours, 4 hours, and then I'll buy personal stuff the next day or some other day, you probably won't even do it. But you need to separate those out. You don't need to go in there with the mindset of, I'm going to buy stuff for me, when you really are supposed to be there sourcing for your business, or vice versa. You don't need to be buying for yourself and then think, oh, I'm going to buy this for the business. Keep that separate in your mind, obviously in your finances and your transactions, because that's important. But that's a good point. I didn't even thought about that.
I thought you would bring it up all the time, because there's always the the business pile, and then there's the car.
The car and pile. There's never a Jason pile. Have you noticed that?
There is when we find certain things. There is.
I did find this shirt at Goodwill once.
And your lucky jeans that you found. Right?
Yes, I am. I'm wearing Goodwill right now. I'm wearing Goodwill, so it was cheap. Lots of people watching, guys. Thanks for the 100+. That is awesome. Please hit the like button if you're liking the content, or you can do something else with the like button.
Smash it.
There it is. I don't know what that is.
That's like all of my voices put together. I'll do May. I like Mae West. I'll try to get that.
Just
But
gonna do it
Mae
now.
West turns into a pirate for me though, because I combine all that together and then it's like a nightmare.
Mae West starring as a pirate. I don't know what that means. All right, so if you guys have questions and so on, I know some of you have been putting them in the chat. Please type them in. Type the word question. Type question marks.
Yeah, type a question. I have to go hug my son. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna hug you. I'll be right back, Jason.
He's going on a ski trip, so isn't he lucky? Yeah, if you have questions, guys, type in the chat. We got about 10 minutes left here in the show, and we will definitely try to cover any questions you have, cover those. I hope you guys are, I don't know about you, but if you're a clothing reseller, this is a slow time of year, so I hope you're not losing faith in clothing and so on. It will get better as we get into February. It'll probably get a little better, or March even so, and then we'll have April will be all right, and then May, maybe the beginning will be okay, but it'll actually die off for some types of clothing. You might have to pivot a little bit. So don't get don't get upset if your sales drop here in the next 30 days or whatever. That's pretty normal, or if they're not really the greatest right now. Lots of people watching though, which I really like.
That's awesome. It's cold outside.
Yeah, I know. It's like yesterday it was like 70. Today it's like 45. It's just.
Oh, it's cold. Oh, did you tell him we get date night 2 nights in a row?
I know. Yes. Krillin asked,
hi.
Have you considered low return investment items instead of high return investment items? Not. I think if I'm understanding your question, Krillin, correctly, is have we considered buying items that would be a lower return on investment, but they would be more actual dollars? Sometimes, but that ties up capital. And I kind of like to put more bait out there at once than just one big expensive piece of bait. So we haven't done too much of that, but we do that sometimes. We'll find jeans at Nordstrom, for instance, or other Nordstrom brands, Nordstrom rack that'll be marked way down. We've done some of that, and it's been great.
We haven't done real RA in a while because we love the Nordstrom rack, but now that we've shifted, we probably won't do that for a while again.
Right. That's exactly right. Darlene says, what's your average price for jeans? That's a great question. And one thing I want to say about that is we're coming out with a PDF it's going to be free, jean brands and it has average sale price in the PDF for the brands that are going to be in the guide. Mm-hmm. And basically for us, you're looking at around like $23 or so, and that includes the shipping costs. We're working on improving that and pushing that up a little bit higher. And I think, you can obviously go lower and quote unquote, go for the quick flip with jeans, but I don't think jeans really flip that quick necessarily because they're very personalized to a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people wear a large shirt or a medium shirt, but a specific man wears a 34, 32, or a woman wears a 6 petite. You really have to find that one particular buyer for that. I mean, obviously there's a lot of people that fall in that category. So I think jeans flip a little slower than say like shirts, for instance. Basic shirts would be my guess. So we try to keep that price up a little bit higher because we want to get that extra margin. If you sold small things like jewelry, slides, how would you store and or inventory it?
Probably the same.
I mean, I would probably just do small bins of some sort, and those types of things. You could get a lot in one bin. I think maybe even I want to say people have even stored that like in tackle boxes with jewelry. I don't know that it really was a tackle box, but it was sort of like that, like lots of little compartments in a case that you could have. Have a good trip.
You too.
And
in 5, 4, 3, high five. We are teenagerless. Woo!
All right. That's a little bonus. That's great.
If you don't have kids yet, you have no idea.
You don't understand. Tino, you will one day. I know you're watching, my friend. But you got a while for that. Yeah, so probably like a little tackle box I think is good for small things like that, jewelry perhaps. And it wouldn't be that expensive because you can find those cheap. even new ones you can find fairly cheap.
And even with small stuff, you have to have a system or you will lose it.
Yeah, you could just number or letter the spots in it somehow that you could see it and say, all right, this is compartment A and compartment B.
Yeah, and we were talking, and we're not going to go into a big discussion about it, but we were talking about last night how even with the best system, if you don't have another way to look it up, that planned redundancy that we talk about, because eBay creates glitches, right? And things show up that weren't there. So,
right. Yeah.
You got to have ways to find it, and you got to have ways to look it up.
Yeah, you want to have it listed in a couple places at least. Just because that way, if you lose it in one or you type the wrong thing in, you can find it. And that was nice.
It was very nice. He's a good boy.
Let's see. Was there any other questions? I don't know if there's too many other questions. We're coming near the end of the show. Somebody's talking about your jeans.
Oh, yes, I represent Adam. Thank you for noticing. Today's ensemble is Levi's.
Oh yeah, and I wanted to say one thing too. Yesterday, guys, Prof had to deal with Karin having a stalker.
Yeah, and this is kind of serious, and not that Karin couldn't take care of it. She's not packing, in the Goodwill necessarily.
I hope you don't punch
especially
like that.
Especially when we go out of. Oh yeah.
Break your.
When we go out of state, but yes. So I was over there in the clearance department. And this fella just kept walking by closer and closer. And, he wasn't all there. We all agree on that.
Yeah.
But he would kind of get close enough to where he could, I felt like he was trying to smell me. He was getting so close. And I tested that and walked over to where you guys were. And it was a little odd. So you tell everybody what you did.
Yeah. So we were in one place and he came and stood not right on top of her, but within a few feet, and wasn't saying anything, wasn't shopping. So we walked all the way down to the end of a row. I said, well, let's test this. Sure enough, he follows us down and stands kind of close to her again.
Kind of in between us. It was.
Yeah. And I said to him, hey, can we help you? And he's like, oh, no. And I'm like, well, you're kind of following her around the store.
And he's like, yep.
And he said, well, no, I'm just looking. He said, oh, no, I'm just looking. And I said, well, keep on looking. And and I just kind of gave him the eye at that point. I was like, my eye's on you, dude. And if you don't get away, this is going to turn ugly.
And it was very uncomfortable. And the lesson we want to share with you on that, my mother was with us. We had another reseller friend was with us as well, a woman. And we joke about concealed carries and all that, people, but sometimes you're not in the best neighborhood. Sometimes you're not in a neighborhood or a place you're familiar with. Just be aware of your surrounding, especially the people around you.
Yeah.
Because we can tell stories. All of us have stories like this one, or stories where you were at the outlet and somebody picked your pocket and took your money or your phone or whatever. But just be safe and just know what you're dealing with and know it. And if you get a weird vibe from somebody, just.
Yeah, they're out there.
Girls, if you're alone, even just go stand by somebody else or go up to the counter or something.
Find somebody in the store and say, hey, this person's following me around.
My next action would have been, if I hadn't been with you or the rest of the folks, I probably would have just brought it to the attention of the people that work there, honestly.
I think he was harmless.
Mm-hmm.
And there was something not quite right with him. Mm-hmm. And that was probably what was causing it. But he can be harmless somewhere else. He doesn't need to be harmless around us. So. Someone else said, what size inventory should we start labeling and having a really organized inventory with your first item?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I'm telling you guys, I don't care what system you use, but man, if you don't have a good system with a little bit of redundancy in it, here's what's going to happen to you. eBay is going to have a glitch on your inventory, which has happened to many of us. It does happen. Or you're going to only have it listed in one place. And then you're going to go to find it one day when you sell it, and you're going to realize you typed in or wrote down the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. Guess what? So if you can't find it, you're going to have to ask the buyer to cancel the sale. And technically, if they say you cancel the sale because you're out of inventory, that goes towards your defect rate, which can affect your selling status. So you got to be able to find your stuff. I mean, being able to find what you sell is rule number one. I don't care what the system is, but you have to have some organization around it. I would recommend you have whatever system you set up denoted at least in two places. at least in 2 places. Because if you screw it up in one, you still might have it right in the other. What I found with jeans a lot, I'll list like 3 jeans in a row, and they'll all be in the same bin spot. And if I did screw one up, and I've probably screwed up, a dozen, maybe 2 dozen over the last few years, the ones around it will help me find the one I'm looking for, because I listed them at the same time. So I know where they are, because if I put that it's supposed to be in A255 and it's really in A253, what am I going to do? Go look through 1,000 pair of jeans to find one? Because I'm going to tell you, when you go look through jeans, they all look the same. It's not like you can look at them and say, oh, I think it's that one. You've literally got to go look at every pair of jeans. Knock on wood, I have yet to lose anything. But it's because the system I've had has saved me numerous times. And every time, well, I won't say every time, I'd say about 70, 80% of the time, it was my fault. I typed something in wrong, I copied and pasted something wrong, whatever it was. But because I had a little bit of redundancy in the system, I was able to find it using another method. So I found the item and still got the customer their order, which is great. That's what you want from your inventory system. You got to be able to find it. And because you're going to make mistakes, you're going to type things wrong, I promise you.
Well, and I haven't made a Star Wars reference yet. And don't let this go to your head. But as far as when to do an inventory system, because we are, in effect, the Jedi Master and the Padawan here. Just stay with me, folks. I'll make it make sense.
No idea where she's going.
So Jason has had the business up for a couple of years now. So he kind of forgot what it's like to start a new account. So as some of you know, I've started from scratch and I'm selling a little bit different things or whatever. But we've had this conversation. And I know from the journey with a lot of you that if you wait until you have 100 items haphazardly on this shelf, that shelf, and the other, it's going to be a little nightmare for you to get it back in order.
It will.
But imagine once you get to 1,000 items,
or 2,000,
and we've heard from folks that it is grim when they have to go back after having so many items. So, and when you look at from afar, when you look at the system that we use, and it's a system that a lot of people use, it looks complicated when you first look at it, but it's really easy.
It's not.
It gives a designation for the shelf, the unit, the shelving unit. It gives a designation for what shelf it's on, and it gives a designation for what area of that shelf because of how we do it. And with my items, we had this same, so I love when that question came up, because Jason and I had the same exact conversation, because I have all these weird things and I'm getting ready to actually sell some collectibles that I've had throughout my life, and I'm probably going to pre-box them, whatever, but there has to be a system in place. Because in our case, what happens when I'm out of town and something goes cha-ching and I'm by myself in some state and I go, woohoo, and you're not there to watch me celebrate? That's going to be terrible.
FaceTime.
Exactly. I'm like, yeah, I sold number 2. Anyway, but for us would work, but you don't want to lose things. I mean, you want to be able to find them, and you want to do it right out of the gate. So the more in order you are when you first start, and I know it seems like a lot and it might not make as much sense right now when you have 5 items or 10 items or 20 items, but believe me, if you wait,
it's hard.
Yeah. So to answer that question in a very long roundabout wordy way, as usual, just do it now. No better time than the present. Don't wait until you're further down, and then you can always tweak it for sure, but have something in place, something good that you can build. It
needs to be just simple enough and no simpler. That's really. Really, you want it to be as simple as possible, but no simpler. Because if it's too simple, it won't be usable, and if it's too complex, it won't be usable. So you got to find that sweet spot. There's lots of great. If you Google inventory system online, you will find tons of great examples that you can probably apply to your business that'll make sense for your space, your storage, and you might have to get different types of storage depending on what you're storing. We've debated back and forth other ways to do it, and I just can't think of a better way than how we're doing it. There might be one. But anyway, all right, guys, well, listen, I think that's going to about do it for today. We're about 3:04, so I want to thank everybody for coming out today. Lots of great viewers, over 100 for most of the show, which is awesome. And if you're watching this later, leave me a question or comment if you'd like, or if you'd like to subscribe. The link will be at the top of the video after we get done.
And a cool thing, if you select that little alarm bell little thing, it'll tell you every time we're here, or every time we post, because we're getting ready to post some really cool pre-recorded, some funnier than others videos. So it'll tell you when those pop up too.
That's right. That's right. You get your Prof Sales and Karin fix. We should just change it to Prof Sales and Karin.
Or how about Karin and Prof Sales?
Or how about Karin?
That's funny. That's a funny one. Your jokes are funny today.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to do it for today. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Get a sale going if you got a store.
Yeah,
I started
sure.
one today. Great way to get some extra sales. Even 10% off. And you can even raise your prices a little so that it really ends up making the same amount of money. Good trick. Lots of people do it. I hope you guys, though, have a great weekend. And what else? Anything else you want to add at the end?
Oh, this is like the ending.
Oh, we can. All right.
No, yeah. We're so glad to see everybody today. And as always, it's grand when we can surround ourselves with people that are in the same boat. Yeah.
Yep.
Love this community. Love you guys. Hope you have a great weekend. Buy stuff if you need to buy stuff, but list so you can sell stuff because we all need to sell stuff, right? So that all being said, this is Karin
and Prof Sales
saying good sales to you.